Come and have a look at this. That's Amy. Look at those beautiful eyes. She used to look at me when she was a little baby. I remember looking at her and thinking, there's something about you that's different. She was just too astute. She'd been here before, okay. And who would have guessed how it would have all turned out? Thank you for the Sold Out Tour 2007. Rolling Stone. 50 times platinum. 15 million. For Amy and her brother Alex, growing up in North London was pretty normal, really. Q Award, Best Album. 2 Ivor Novellos. That's a famous shot now. They were all at the Grammys. But one thing I never imagined, my little girl would go through the hell of drug addiction. Win a Record of the Year, win a Song of the Year, win a Best New Artist, win a Pop Best Album. I'm Mitch Winehouse, and everyone thinks they know our story.
Here's a close-up, the one and only Amy Winehouse. Let me tell us all your adoring fans.
Guess what? You don't.
I love you.
Well, you know, that's the headline. Amy died in my arms. Of course nothing's happened. Everything is exactly... I've had people phoning me saying to me, is Amy dead? Can you see that? I've had family and friends who don't read The Sun, they've just seen the headline, phoning me up, asking me if Amy's dead. I mean, that's how irresponsible this article is. Blake is a self-confessed liar. According to the paper, he begged Amy to stop taking drugs. He was the one who was giving her drugs. He was the one who switched her on to Class A drugs in the first place. Not my words, his words. Come on, nobody believes that kind of stuff. Everybody knows who he is. You know, we've got to stop, you know, the newspapers, the Mirror, the Sun, the News of the World have got to take his oxygen away from him. Who wants to hear from this absolute nobody? Here we are at Amy's 4th birthday party, way back in 1987. We've always had a special relationship, Amy and I, but boy, she always knew how to get her own way. We lost her Janice came home one day and lost her in the park. And obviously I went crazy. She was 2 or 2.5. And Amy had gone up to a friend of my sister, she saw her in the park, and this girl took her home with her. And she never phoned us to tell us, you know, what was she thinking about? And so for 6 hours, we were convinced that she'd gone. And then somehow or another, Amy walked in and I was sitting on the stairs crying. Amy came and she said, "Don't cry, Daddy." But once she did that, she knew that she'd got us. 24 years later, and she's still disappearing. She's been recovering in St Lucia for 6 months now, is on drug replacement therapy, and is out here trying to get her life back together. So one minute it was nice, and the next minute it wasn't nice. So this is what happens in the Caribbean.
I know he's filming, he wants to stay with you.
Okay. This is Ricky. Say hello to the camera, Ricky.
Ricky, hello.
He's a lovely boy, but he eats an awful lot.
No, he doesn't eat enough.
He's eating a big
Same
lunch
as
just
me.
now.
So
Ricky, give me a kiss.
All about lunches. But you eat a
Oh,
lot.
She really loves it out here. It's really done her the power of good. It's only 4:30.
4:30, Dad, that's pretty late. It's a
Well, we started horse riding at 6 o'clock. Trouble is, she can never truly escape.
Your picture, is that all right?
You got your camera and I'll take it for you if you like.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Croydon.
Oh, right, I'm from Kent. Well, I'm not from Kent, I live in Kent.
Maidstone.
Yeah, no, I live in Greenhithe.
Oh, really?
Amy, how do you do it?
Just push an older button. I'm really sorry.
Oh, okay.
Darling. Is that all right?
Listen,
All the way from...
listen, if you're that sorry, then you won't listen. You've got a lovely shirt on.
Cheers, darling.
Is that okay? Pleasure.
Absolute legend. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
keep well, mate. All the best, yeah.
See you later, darling.
Yeah, be lucky, be lucky.
You know, I've got to say, why have you got to make a comment like that? Why have you got to do that? They asked to take a picture of you. No, that's got nothing to do with it.
I
I'm
don't
talking
mind.
to you.
Dad, they got the photo that they wanted. I don't think they give a back for it.
You know what? Sometimes even I'm guilty of forgetting what it must be like for Amy. But Amy's not the only one whose life's been turned upside down. I love being a London cabbie, but I haven't been able to work for 2 years now. I tell you, every time I get into my cab to go to work, I get an anxiety attack. I don't like the way that I've been. I don't like being angry, you know, being on the point of wanting to hurt somebody. That's what it's brought me down to. I would say that I've got a lot of unresolved anger in me towards Blake and towards Amy. And at some point, I'm going to have to tell her about it. Now's not the right time. It never seems to be the right time because I don't want to upset her. And, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe if I upset her, she's going to go back to taking drugs again. I'm sure that won't happen. But at some point, I'm going to have to sit down with Amy and say to her, do you know what you've done?
Do you have anything to say? What?
Like every parent, you wonder if you could have done things differently. Me and Amy's mum Janice separated when Amy was 10 and I married Jane. But this wasn't a typical divorce. In fact, Janice and I are still good friends. We have to be. We both run her business. And we're both the parents of a recovering addict. You know, people have said, you've been great, I've been great, and we've got our daughter off drugs. We haven't got our daughter off drugs. Haven't. She's done it. Yes. You know, we've just been there, struggling through, and you know, doing what we think has been the best thing for her.
You know, whatever happens, you know, we have to detach ourselves from the feeling of guilt. Did we not do the right thing? And
well,
that is,
you know, did we not do the right thing? I mean, did we split up? Yeah. We got divorced, and maybe that had a contributory factor, yes. Maybe it didn't.
But the thing is that even though that is our child, her situation is not unique.
No, I've spoken to people in that yes. position, and I've said to them, when you were doing that, did you consider your parents' feelings? No. You know, it wasn't that they didn't love their parents anymore, but the big love of their life was doing whatever they were doing. Yes. And that took precedence over anything else.
Absolutely. But Amy knows that we're here for her.
It's probably the main reason for her survival.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And the main reason for my survival. Yes. Because without my family, I think I would have gone under. Yes. At the darkest point. Yes. And what a family. My grandparents were Russian Jews who came to England in the 1890s. I grew up in the East End surrounded by loads of aunts and uncles, real East End characters. Look, there's me. There's my dad. And that's my beautiful mum. Like a film star, and probably the biggest influence in Amy's life. But even with all our love and support, we couldn't protect Amy from falling into addiction. It's come to this, me an East End boy seeing a Harley Street therapist. Not something I ever saw myself needing to do.
How have things been?
Things are 1,000% better. And now she's horse riding in the Caribbean and running around, making music. You know, the transformation has been quite incredible. And she takes a lot of credit for that. She's done brilliantly.
How about you? Where have you been in all this? 'Cause
it's difficult. You know, I feel that I'm still in a war. I'm still in a war zone, and you know, because of that, there's adrenaline pumping through me all the time, and you know, I'm kind of used to the phone going at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it even gets to the point where if it doesn't ring at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm wondering what's up.
You look like there's some emotion there.
Oh yeah, I'm quite emotional. You know, I don't think I could have done this without, you know, venting my emotions every now and again. Sometimes, not always to the in the most sort of positive way.
It sounds like you're the one that's carrying the anxiety now. She's been off in St Lucia, chilled out on the beach, having a nice time riding the horses, and
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
now you're the one that's carrying the anxiety. You're the one that's kind of up to here with the stress. Quite often, all of the attention is put on the addict. You know, they get the resources. They can start to get well. You know, they can start to see that life is good, and there's all these people kind of ruined in their wake.
Yeah.
You know. If you don't mind me saying, Mitch, you're of an age, you know, you're carrying a bit of weight, you know, you've been through an enormously stressful period, you know, you need to start really looking after yourself. And you can't carry her burden. You know, you can't keep carrying her burden because you could be the one that drops down dead.
When a child behaves like my daughter has behaved and becomes what my daughter became, I found that much more heartbreaking than a husband behaving badly.
Basically, you're talking about a different sort of love.
Yes, you're talking about
your
a
love
different
for your children is, well, in most people's cases, completely unconditional.
One of the things that's helped me through this is listening to other parents who have gone through similar experiences.
It is a war, and what happens when people come out of a war?
That's right.
They're drained and exhausted, and when people come back from a war, they find it very difficult to integrate into normal life. In fact, that's, you know, what's happened to us.
Yeah, I can identify with that, absolutely. I think the war is a good analogy. It's like post-traumatic, what do they call it? Post-traumatic stress. But for me, just when I think the battle's won, there's an attack on another front.
Now, since becoming a star, Amy Winehouse has rarely been out of the headlines. Although she's off hard drugs, Amy's still struggling with her addictions.
It's alcohol that's now Amy's problem, and which badly affected her performance 6 weeks ago at a Caribbean concert. Since then, in her Caribbean hideaway, Amy's drinking has continued.
Does she look drunk?
Amy's father wants to start a charity to help other families.
You can see she's not drunk. We should keep the drums away from her. She's a shit drummer.
Whilst continually hoping they'll stop in time to save themselves.
But Janice, you don't know, you're looking at that news article, which was 2 months old. You know, she's 100% better, and you know that better than anybody else. So why you think, she's what? Who told you that? I can't believe all the tabloid stories about Amy drinking, but there's only one way to find out the truth. Do you put your underwear in your shoes? Pack. This time, I'm taking my best mate Stuart with me.
It's tragic, isn't it? It is a shame. It's terrible, that is.
Disaster. Really, it brings it all home a bit, doesn't it? I mean, it can happen to anybody. I mean, he's obviously frail.
He's been ill. He's been ill for ages. You can guarantee. No one says nothing. He's been ill.
Makes you pause to think, doesn't it? I mean, if it could happen to Michael Jackson. I have to be honest, I'm always a bit nervous when going out to see Amy because I never know what I'm going to find. Amy has to take responsibility for herself. Ultimately, people have got to say, do what you want to do and get on with it. Every time Amy puts a drink to her lips, I don't want to shudder with fear. It's the same way with my son. Every time he goes out and drive in the car, oh God, I hope he doesn't crash the car and get killed. I've got to learn to let him get on with it. And, I struggle with that. I do struggle with that. It's 2 days before I finally get to see her. And when I do, she's obviously uncomfortable with the camera being there. It's starting to bother me too. I want people to know what we're going through, but how do I do that and protect Amy at the same time? What's going on? We signed all the paperwork that we wanted to sign, but and we felt that the camera is starting to become a little bit intrusive, and I don't think it's really appropriate. I'm fully aware that everybody wants to see her and they want to see how she's doing and everything else, but you know, let somebody else be responsible for that, not me. We spend our whole time with security and myself keeping camera crews and photographers away from her, and you know, again, I'm starting to question my own motives, and you know, why am I bringing one close to her? At the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, well, wouldn't it be great if we could get Amy doing this or doing that? And you know, what's the difference between that and somebody, a paparazzi photographer, saying, you know, wouldn't it be great if I could get her falling off of a horse, something like that? So right now, this is the way that we're going to play it. Everyone asks me, am I in denial about Amy's drinking? You know what? Maybe I am to a certain extent, but it's my way of coping.
Because Amy's still drinking at the moment.
Yeah, but on a much reduced scale.
How do you feel about that? Because
Well,
we're still getting the imagery, aren't we, in the papers?
Yeah, but it's much reduced. This is something that she can control on a far more to a far greater extent than she could with drugs. Nevertheless, it still needs to be addressed.
Addiction is a progressive illness, and with somebody, you know, who's used different substances, once you've kind of crossed over that line, I would say nearly all the people I work with can't go back to controlling using a substance. You know, the brain, the area of the brain where the addiction is based, doesn't really distinguish between mind-altering substances. So although she may be controlling the drinking at the moment, as long as she's using a substance, be it alcohol or anything else, the likelihood is that she's very vulnerable to the addiction taking off again in a new direction or exploding again. Have you prepared yourself for that?
No.
She's not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I understand.
We all wish her well. But, you know, she is still in a dangerous situation.
It's tough, isn't it? You know, you think that you've been through the worst, and I still firmly believe that we are through the worst of things. And yet the realisation is, or the reality is, that it could all start again. That I can't contemplate. That I don't think I would survive that. It's my Uncle Alfie. And this is my father. 43 my father was when he passed away. And my uncle 47. It's unbelievable. Young men. Right, here we go. Iskadalvius kadashmei rabba. Diaolomim churasei vial nichmal chusei. Chaechon uvyamachon. Uvchai dikol beish Yisrael ba'agola uvizmon karif v'yimru amen. V'yimru amen. And that is the mourners. That is the mourners, what is known as the mourners Kaddish. After 9 months recovering in St. Lucia, Amy's coming home. Pentonville prison, where my son-in-law spent 15 months of his life. Do you believe these lights are out? It's unbelievable, these main road lights. She wants to move back to Camden, and guess who's house hunting for her? It wouldn't be my choice for her to live because of the associations of the things that went on before. But what can you do? If that's where she wants to live, that's where she wants to live. Lovely street. You know, she's 26 years old and she wants to be, you know, near her friends, and you got parking. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd move her out to, you know, the Isle of Skye or somewhere in the Outer Hebrides. Trouble is, as a parent, you never stop worrying about your kids. She's only been back a week and she's up in court on a dodgy charge of assault. Allegedly, she punched the girl in the face who just happened to be a foot taller than her. I've had to just go, I had to get Amy up and she's maybe an hour and a half behind already. You know, normally you'd be nervous about, you know, are they going to find her guilty? I'm just worried that we're going to get there at all. Of course she was found not guilty, but the papers will still have their headlines tomorrow. I know she's a star and everyone wants a piece of her, but one thing I still can't deal with is knowing that I can't be there to protect her all of the time.
Come in it, fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars.
So here we are, and it's my 59th birthday party. It's great to have all the Winehouses together again. And I must admit, for the first time in 2 years, I'm feeling really good about the future.
Amy Winehouse, ladies and gentlemen.
As for Amy, one day at a time. She's been clean for over a year now, and maybe soon she'll get around to finishing her next album. Who knows? Hopefully she'll settle down, find a nice Jewish cabbie, and give me some grandchildren. And maybe one day I'll learn to let go.